So, good day everyone. So, ang topic natin for today is chapter 8 ng Rouse, which is yung sentence. So, sa history of sentence pa muna tayo. Next po. So, sentence, it represents a class of chemical compounds, specifically methylated derivatives of the natural metabolite xanthine. So, ano po? The interaction between humans and xanthines predates modern medicine, rooted in their natural occurrence as alkaloids in various plant species. Historically, these substances were consumed for their stimulant effects. So, ito yung caffeine. So, nakikita siya nakukuha siya sa coffee beans and cola nuts. Yung theophylline and caffeine, present din siya sa tea leaves. And yung caffeine and theobromine contained within cacao seeds or beans. So, these natural plant substances have been traditionally used in brewed forms for their stimulating properties, reflecting a long-standing appreciation for the effects on the human body. Next po. Next slide po. So, sa modern pharmacology, naghiwalay at nag-synthesize ng mga compound at yung kanilang mga derivatives para sa mga nakatarget ng therapeutic application. So, sa specific xanthine agents and chemical structures na po tayo. Next slide na lang po. So the primary xanthine agents of therapeutic interest are theophylline, 1,2,3-dimethylxanthine, and caffeine, 1,3,7-trimethylxanthine. Referred sila as methylxanthines dahil sa methyl attachments to the xanthine structure. Other notable xanthines include theobromine and iba pang synthetic modifications such as diphylline, proxyphylline, hydroxyxopril, propyl, and N-prophylline. So yung chemical structure ng mga agents, particularly yung methyl attachments sa mas specific nitrogen positions, ini-influence nila yung pharmacological activity and potency. Kunwari, yung methyl groups at nitrogen 1 at nitrogen 3 positions sa theophylline, ini-enhance ito yung bronchodilating effect and toxic side effects. Sa caffeine naman, with an additional methyl group at nitrogen 7, next, ina-exhibit niya yung decreased bronchodilator effect na relative sa theophylline. Next po, sa general pharmacological properties na po tayo. Next slide po. So, xanthines are characterized by a range of physiological effects in humans, broadly categorized by their stimulant and smooth muscle relaxing properties. So, ito yung CNS, cardiac muscle stimulation, diuresis, So, next slide na lang po. Next slide po. So, sa central nervous system naman po muna tayo. Sa stimulation, xanthines, particularly caffeine, are well known for their CNS stimulant effects, aiding alertness and wakefulness. Ito po yung parang pag pupunta po tayo sa coffee shop, syempre po pag nagre-review tayo, especially mga CASI students, yan yung usually mga tinitake natin para hindi na tayo makatulog kaka-review. So sa cardiac muscle stimulation naman po, they can increase cardiac contractility and heart rate. Sa diuresis, a well-recognized effect contributing to increased urine production. So sa smooth muscle relaxation naman po tayo. Next slide po. So sa smooth muscle relaxation, syempre importanteng property to. So na-affect niya yung bronchial smooth muscle leading to bronchodilation, particularly with theophylline. Yung uterine and vascular smooth muscle din, contributing to other physiological responses. Yung peripheral and coronary vasodilation, affecting blood flow in various parts of the body. And cerebral vasoconstriction. So this effect is utilized in certain migraine treatments. The intensity of these effects varies among different xanthines. So caffeine, for example, more potent CNS stimulant and has greater ventilatory stimulation compared sa theophylline. So yung theophylline is primarily recognized sa bronchodilating action niya. So sa proposed theories of activity po. Next slide po. Okay, so basahin po muna natin yung table. Sa xanthine derivative, yung theophylline, brand names, Theochron, elixophylline, Theo24. Formulations is tablets, capsule, syrup, elixir, extended release tablets, capsules, and injection. Sa oxytryphylline naman, Coledyl SA, tablets, syrup, elixir, sustained release tablets. Then sa aminophylline, yung brand name din is aminophylline, tablets, oral liquid injection, and suppositories naman yung formulations. Then last but not the least is diphylline. Brand name is Lufilin or Lufilin. Formulations is tablets and elixir. Next slide po. So ito naman yung effect sa caffeine theophylline, yung difference ng intensity of effects ng caffeine and theophylline. So sa CNS, yung central nervous system stimulation, so makikita natin dyan na mas intense yung caffeine kaysa theophylline. Sa cardiac stimulation, smooth muscle relaxation, makikita natin na mas intense yung theophylline compared sa caffeine. Pero sa skeletal muscle stimulation, mas malakas yung effect ng caffeine kaysa theophylline. Then sa diuresis, mas malakas yung intensity ng theophylline kaysa sa caffeine. Next slide po. So sa use in asthma, maintenance therapy, sustained release theophylline serves as an alternative for maintenance therapy in mild persistent asthma for patients over 5 years old. So nalilist din siya as an alternative often in combination with an inhaled corticosteroid, ICS. Sa second line agent naman, it is generally considered a less preferred alternative to low-dose ICS, cromolyn-like agents, or anti-leukotrienes for second-line maintenance drug therapy in stable asthma. Sa contraindications, theophylline is not recommended for children na mas bata pa than 5 years, or for any person experiencing an acute exacerbation of asthma. Its role in asthma management has been largely regulated for second or third line drug used when B2 agonists and anti-inflammatory therapy fail to control systems. Next po, sa use in COPD. Next slide. So sa symptom management, bronchodilators are central to stable COPD management. While inhaled bronchodilators are preferred, theophylline is considered effective and recommended as an alternative when inhaled B2 agonists or anticholinergic agents are insufficient. Sa non-bronchodilating value, its value in COPD is particularly noted for its bronchodilating effects, such as ventilatory drive stimulation and enhanced respiratory muscle function. Sa acute exacerbations naman, yung xanthines are generally not recommended para sa treatment ng COPD exacerbations, as studies have not shown significant benefits over inhaled B2 agonists and anticholinergic therapy. Sa safety profile, due to a less favorable side effect profile compared sa inhaled B2 agonists and anticholinergics, these latter agents are generally preferred. So sa next slide po. Ayan. So last but not the least is the first line agent used in apnea of prematurity. Methylxanthines are considered the first line pharmacologic agents for stimulating breathing in apnea of prematurity when non-pharmacologic methods are insufficient. Sa agent of choice, while theophylline has been used extensively, caffeine citrate is often preferred. This preference stems from caffeine superior cerebrospinal fluid penetration, higher therapeutic index, fewer side effects, greater potency as a CNS and respiratory stimulant, and simpler, more predictable dosing regimens compared to theophylline. Caffeine citrate or CAFCIT is available for intravenous or oral administration. And next.
So, ayan. So, for now, next is the serum level monitoring and titration. First is we must know that every person metabolizes the drug at a different rate. We talk about that when it comes to pharmacogenetics natin, di ba? So the same dose can result in every different blood levels for different patients, and serum drug levels are most precise guide for dosing. So here we have the table sa gilid na target serum level. So in terms of COPD management, pwede tayong magbigay ng 5 to 6 micrograms per liter, and then sa asthma patient is 5 to 15 grams per ml. Next po. Next slide po. Okay, so next is we go through the equivalent doses of theophylline salt. So our standard is anhydrous theophylline is where it give us 100% theophylline. And for next slide, next slide. Ayan. So it says here na different salts contain varying amount of actual theophylline, and therefore doses must be adjusted for equivalency. Next. So we have an example na oxtrifilin, which is 64% theophylline. So since yung previous natin na anhydrous theophylline is nagbibigay siya ng 100%, and this oxtrifilin is only 64%, we need a higher milligrams dose to equalize the 100 mg of anhydrous theophylline. Next. Another example is the diphylline, which is a derivative siya actually and not a true salt. It is only about 1/10 as potency as theophylline. Next po. So here I lifted this from our book. It says na theophylline content of salt of theophylline with amount need for equivalence to 100% anhydrous theophylline. Just like yung oxtrifilin natin kanina, sabi ko na kailangan nating itaas para mapantayan natin yung 100% na binibigay ng anhydrous theophylline natin, which is the standard. Here we have example na theophylline anhydrous, which is 100% yung theophylline niya. Therefore, ang equivalent dosage niya is 100 milligrams. Theophylline monohydrate naman is 91% lang yung meron siyang theophylline. So, kailangan nating bigyan ng 110 milligrams yung patient. The aminophylline anhydrous is 86%, which is mas mababa. So mas mataas yung kailangan nating ibigay na equivalent dose in terms of milligram, which is 116. And si aminophylline dihydrate is 79%, 127 milligrams. And yung example natin kanina, si oxtrifilin, which is 64%. So we must give the patient 156 milligrams. Next po. So here, may mga must-know range tayo when it comes to giving patients, and para makita natin yung mga mga side effects, ganyan, para maiwasan natin. So, here sa table, we have less than 5 micrograms per ml. Wala pang nakikitang effect na dito. And then sa 10 to 20 milligrams per micrograms per ml, this is where the therapeutic range. Dito na nangyayari yung benefits na binibigay normally ng mga theophylline na drugs. And if greater than 20 micrograms per ml, baka bigay siya ng effect or side adverse effect na nausea, and greater than 30 micrograms per ml, baka magkaroon na ng yung patient natin ng cardiac arrhythmias, and in a range of 40 to 45 microgram per ml is pwede nang magkaroon ng seizures yung patient. Next po. Ayan, so since giving doses is very important and very crucial when it comes to giving the exact and aiming the therapeutic range ng mga drugs natin, we have here the COPT gold standard, which is 10 to 20 micrograms per ml for maximal bronchodilation. And next is the asthma gold standard, which is 5 to 15 micrograms per ml for maximal bronchodilation rin. Next. So we have here dosage schedule. So in rapid theophylinization, an oral loading dose of 5 milligrams per kg based on anhydrous theophylline, our standard, can be given to a patient not currently receiving the drugs. So sinasabi dito na it is safe to give full 5 milligrams per kg sa ating mga patient para magkaroon siya ng loading dose na sinasabi. And to quickly fill, parang isipin natin it's like a tank na to quickly fill it, and then para ma-set natin yung blood levels nila to therapeutic range. So kumbaga para siyang primer na magbibigay ka ng dose sa patient na 5 milligrams per kg para ma-set. And then but it is important to know na next po. Ay sorry, pabalik pala ako. Ayan, so it is important to know na if the patient has been taking theophylline previously, we should measure the serum theophylline level first before giving any doses na na magdadagdag ka pa ng dose, because ang point lang naman dito sa rapid theophylinization is kino-condition mo lang or sineset mo lang naman yung concentration ng dugo nila sa correct level para ma-condition yung yung pagbigay ng maintenance therapy for the next drugs. Next po. Ayan, we have your dosing weight. Lean body weight should be used for calculation because theophylline does not distribute into fatty tissues. So, in pharmacology kasi, hindi fats yung, hindi literal na weight ng patient yung pagbabasehan natin. Dapat is yung lean body weight niya, which is next. So bakit lean body weight at hindi yung literal na weight ng patient yung gusto nating gamitin or kailangan nating gamitin? Because the lean body weight represents the total weight of body, including yung mga muscles, yung mga bones, and yung organs after subtracting the weight of all adipose tissue. Next po. Ayan, so next po. Ayan, so actually na-curious ako kasi bakit ba kailangan na body weight? Wala namang, hindi naman natin alam yun as an RT student. But this is just nice to know where if you calculate the dose kasi using the actual body weight, is, for example, sa mga obese or overweight na patient, the drug concentration will be overestimate. Ayaw natin yun kasi nga, since marami silang fats sa katawan, there is a less space for the drug to occupy. So parang binibigyan lang natin sila ng drugs pero hindi naman natin alam kung gumagana ba yun sa kanila. Kaya kailangan na malaman natin kung paano at alam natin kung ano yung lean body weight ng patient para hindi at maiwasan natin yung pagka-overdose. Here we have your Divine formula where meron tayong set standard. Sabi nila that over 5 feet, for example, sa mga lalaki, for example, 5'5" siya, yung 5 feet na yun is 50 kg na. Yun parang, yun yung baseline nung drugs, ay baseline yung ng kilograms ng patient. While sa women naman is 45.5 kg. And if for every inch na lalagpas sa 5 feet, magdadagdag lang tayo ng 2.3 kg. Next, here, we have here yung nagbigay ako ng case study dito or case scenario na we have a male, okay, male patient admitted for COPD exacerbation. So yung height niya is 5'8" and yung actual weight niya is obese. So dito makikita natin, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, it is very important na ma-solve natin yung lean body weight kasi kasi iniiwasan natin yung ma-overdose yung patient. So when it comes using the Divine formula, we have here your this one, your 50 kg, since 8 inches yung 8 inches above ng 5 inches yung 5 feet yung ano niya. So if 8 inches times 2.3, so that is 18.4 kg. So i-plus natin 50 kg plus 18.4 kg, therefore that is 68.4 kg. So ibig sabihin dun sa 5'8" na patient natin na 95 kg siya, sa normally kapag nag-weight ka sa timbangan, ang totoong body weight lang niya or the lean body weight niya minus the fats is 68.4 kg. And then the final dose instruction here that using this lean body weight, we will give the patient 342 milligrams. So imagine, sobrang halaga na alam natin kung paano kumuha ng lean body weight as a medical professional kasi ayaw natin na ma-overdose yung patient. Next po. Ayan, so in terms of titration, each 0.5 milligrams per kg dose generally result in 1 microgram ml increase in their serum level. Next po. In terms of long-term therapy naman, slow titration is being preferred, and based on the book na sa Rouse, sinasabi niya na you start with 16 milligrams per kg per 24 hours, or pwede kang magbigay ng 400 milligrams per 24 hours. Next po. Ayan, so we also have a dosage may be modified based on the age of the patient, if may congestive heart disease ba sila or may liver disease sila. Next po. Take note that when monitoring serum theophylline levels, the sample should be taken at a time of peak absorption. So yun yung dun na na-absorb yung drugs natin, 'di ba? Kasi may mga onset pa yan. And then of the drugs, 1 to 2 hours after administration for immediate release forms, and 5 to 9 hours after the morning dose for sustained release forms. Next. Ayan, bumabalik tayo sa therapeutic index natin. So your theophylline have a narrow therapeutic index. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito? 'Di ba kapag narrow or very small yung difference niya, is yung dose na yun is toxic. Kaya kailangan nating i-manage. Next po. So even within the therapeutic serum level na 10 to 20 mg per liter can also give you or can also give the patient a side effect. Next. Ayan, so meron tayong mga adverse reaction na nakikita sa theophylline treatment, which is naka-organize siya by organ system from the book. For example, your central nervous system, yung patient mo pwedeng magkaroon ng headache, anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, tremor, or convulsions. Kapag sa GIT naman nila or sa gastrointestinal system nila, we have your nausea, vomiting, anorexia, abdominal pain, and diarrhea, hematemesis, yung nagsusuka sila ng dugo, gastroesophageal reflux. And sa respiratory system, takip niya, mabilis yung paghinga nila. And sa cardiovascular system is pwedeng magkaroon ng palpitation yung patient, supraventricular tachycardia, ventricular arrhythmias, and hypotension. And lastly is sa renal system, nasabi ni Kenneth kanina na it causes a diuresis or pag-ihi. Next po. So now we talk about the factors affecting the theophylline activity. So we have the metabolism and elimination. So theophylline is being processed by the liver, and this is being removed by the body from the body throughout the kidneys. So any condition affecting sa mga liver and kidney disease, nasabi ko kanina yung pwede nating i-consider sa patient kung may liver disease ba sila directly is this eto kasi is directly impacts the drugs level in the body. Next po. So ayan, we have your factors that increase serum level or risk of toxicity. We have a table here sa gilid, yung mga factors that can increase. Yung increase is if alcohol, yung mga beta-blocking agents, yung mga calcium channel blockers, cimetidine, ranitidine, corticosteroids, and others. And next, ayan. So, kinuha ko lang yung mga important like yung viral hepatitis and left ventricular failure reduce the liver metabolism. So kapag yung patient mo may HEPA, may left ventricular failure, hindi nagre-reduce yung pag-metabolize nila sa liver which leads to higher drug concentration na natitira sa body nila. Next po. Ayan, so we also have your factors that decrease the serum level or hindi na siya toxic but hindi rin siya effective. Ito yung mga beta agonist natin, yung mga glutetimide, barbiturates, and cigarette smoking, mga ganyan. Next po. Ayan, so especially sa ating mga RT, cigarette smoking because this stimulates the liver enzyme that inactivate the drug requiring higher dose for the same effect. Next. So factors of another factors that affects the theophylline activity is yung mga may tuberculosis and loop diuretics. They have a unpredictable effects and may either increase or decrease levels. Next po. Ayan, so gaya nga ng sabi ko, yung sa nakakapag-decrease yung beta agonist natin, they have an additive effect with theophylline and are often used together for asthma or COPD. And we also have your benzodiazepine, which is theophylline that can antagonize or block, di ba, yung antagonist natin, the sedative effect of drugs like Valium. Next po. It can also affects your neuromuscular agents. So yung mga may neuromuscular blocking agents, the theophylline can reverse the paralyzing effect of drugs like yung mga pancuronium and antracuronium. Next po. And lastly, for theophylline toxicity and management, you must take note that as an RT especially, that you always check if the patient smoke, because they will likely need a higher dose because their liver clears the drug faster, while patients with liver cirrhosis or heart failure are at high risk for toxicity naman because their bodies cannot clear the drug efficiently, and combining theophylline with beta agonists will provide better bronchodilation but may also increase the risk of side effects like tremors or tachycardia.
So for the clinical application of theophylline, sinasabi po na it is not indicated as first-line therapy for the pharmacologic management of asthma and COPD. So bakit nga po sinabing second line or third line therapy pong itong theophylline kasi nga po meron siyang disadvantages which is yung meron siyang narrow therapeutic margin, meron siyang toxic effects, unpredictable blood levels and need for individual dosing, and numerous drug-drug and drug condition interactions. So, kahit na po na sinasabi natin na theophylline is a bronchodilator, but still, hindi po siya ginagamit as first-line therapy because nga po, yun nga po sinasabi na meron siyang narrow therapeutic range. Ibig sabihin po na the dose that works is very close to the dose that causes toxicity. Even small increases in blood levels can lead to serious side effects such as yung nausea, vomiting, palpitations, arrhythmias, and seizures. And its effect is also less predictable because the euphyline levels are influenced by age. Yun nga po sabi kanina ni Genevieve, by smoking, ang mga liver function, infections, and drug interaction. And for this reason, regular blood level monitoring is required, which make it inconvenient and risky for routine use. And also in asthma, safer and more effective medications katulad po ng mga beta agonists na ginagamit po natin, mga corticosteroids nagpo-provide po ng mas faster relief compare po sa theophylline, and better control of airway inflammation. And 'pag COPD naman po, gumagamit po tayo ng inhaled bronchodilators, and mas preferred po natin 'tong mga medication na 'to because they act directly on the airways with kokonti lang po yung nagiging side effects niya. And in the use of asthma, in the treatment of asthma, theophylline is suggested for use after reliever agents such as the beta-2 agonist and other controller agents such as yung mga corticosteroids po natin or yung mediator antagonist na tinatawag po natin na cromolyn-like drugs targeting the underlying inflammation. So sinasabi po dito na kapag gumana po yung effect ng mga beta-2 agonist, mga bronchodilators po natin is hindi po natin kailangan gumamit ng theophylline. And saka lang po tayo gagamit ng theophylline kapag hindi po naging maayos yung effect ng mga first line therapy for asthma katulad ng bronchodilators or mga beta agonists or yung corticosteroids. And yun nga po saka lang tayo gagamit kapag nag-fail po yung effect ng drug sa mga merong asthma. And for the use in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease naman po, ginagamit din siya as maintenance agent in COPD kapag yun nga po ulit, kapareho sa asthma na ginagamit ang theophylline kapag yung anticholinergics and beta-2 agonist natin is nag-fail to provide adequate control. In the development of long-acting beta-2 agonists katulad ng mga salmeterol, formoterol, and arformoterol offers an additional drug choice to preserve lung function in COPD bago po tayo gumamit ng theophylline, especially if theophylline was used to prevent nocturnal symptoms. So ayun nga sabi po kanina na it is only indicated as maintenance kapag hindi po gumana yung or hindi po nag-provide ng adequate control yung mga anticholinergics natin katulad ng mga ipratropium or tiotropium and yung mga beta-2 agonist pa natin. And the increase FEV1 or yung first expiratory volume in 1 second, which salmeterol gives more consistent improvement in lung function on a 12-hour basis and maintains a higher baseline of lung function. And theophylline and its salt, meron po siyang salt na tinatawag na aminophylline, are listed as bronchoactive agents for managing an acute exacerbation of COPD in the guidelines. However, use of other bronchodilators is still preferred. So, sinasabi dito na meron pong salt na tinatawag yung theophylline, which is yung aminophylline. And kahit na po this aminophylline na sinasabi mo na bronchoactive agents po siya for managing an acute exacerbation of COPD, but still po mas preferred pa rin po yung paggamit ng bronchodilators instead for theophylline. And also, reminder po na kapag meron tayong peptic ulcer or yung mga patients natin are associated with active peptic ulcer or acute gastritis, suppositories should not be used if the rectum or lower colon is irritated, and also if stomach upset occurs with theophylline, kailangan po natin kumain muna ng pagkain or dapat po may laman yung tiyan natin bago po tayo mag-take ng theophylline. And ingestion of large amounts of caffeine from other sources such as tea or coffee may precipitate side effects when taking theophylline. And tandaan po natin na hindi po tayo pwedeng mag-administer ng theophylline kapag merong mga peptic ulcer or acute gastritis yung patients natin. And also kapag yung rectum natin or lower colon is irritated. And also hindi po tayo pwedeng mag-take ng theophylline kapag marami po tayong nainom na tea or coffee. Kasi po hindi po nagiging maganda yung side effect niya in our body. And in the use in apnea of prematurity, xanthines such as theophylline and caffeine are still considered a first-line choice of drug therapy when non-pharmacologic methods are unsuccessful in apnea of prematurity. And sabi po dito na xanthines are considered a first-line choice of drug therapy sa mga apnea of prematurity. Kasi po after non-pharmacologic methods, it failed because of their direct and effective action on the immature respiratory system. And the non-pharmacologic methods may help temporarily, but yung xanthines, it directly fix the immature respiratory drive, making the most effective first-line therapy when the other measures fail in the use of apnea of prematurity. And theophylline is biotransformed to caffeine in neonates. So in neonates, theophylline is partially biotransformed or metabolized into caffeine because yung liver po nila is still immature pa. And it partly becomes caffeine, which adds to the respiratory stimulating effect while requiring careful dosing. And premature infants have underdeveloped liver enzyme systems, so theophylline is metabolized more slowly. And some of theophylline undergoes demethylation, producing caffeine as a metabolite. And since caffeine is also a respiratory stimulant, then this contributes to the therapeutic effect in treating apnea of prematurity. And however, caffeine is preferable to theophylline for various pharmacologic reasons as follow, because the caffeine penetrates more readily than theophylline into a cerebrospinal fluid and can be effective in infants refractory to theophylline therapy. And caffeine is a more potent stimulant of CNS and the respiratory system than theophylline. And the dosing regimens are simpler and give more predictable results with caffeine than with theophylline, most likely because of smaller plasma fluctuations with caffeine. And the caffeine has a wider therapeutic margin with fewer side effects than theophylline. So sinasabi po na ang paggamit po ng caffeine is much more safer compared po sa theophylline. And also it is a longer acting, easier to use and more reliable than theophylline, which is why it is now the preferred first line drug therapy for apnea of prematurity. And sa non-bronchodilating effects of theophylline, although theophylline is classified as a bronchodilator, it has a relatively weak bronchodilating action in respiratory muscle strength, respiratory muscle endurance, central ventilatory drive, cardiovascular effects, and anti-inflammatory effects. So the non-bronchodilating effect of theophylline on the respiratory muscle strength refers to its ability to improve the performance of the diaphragm and the other breathing muscles. And it also enhances the diaphragmatic contractility. And this theophylline increases the force of contraction of the diaphragm, helping the preterm or weak lungs generate stronger breaths. And it improves also the endurance of our respiratory muscles, and it reduces fatigue and allowing the muscles to sustain breathing for longer periods. And for the central ventilatory drive, it chemically forces the brainstem to breathe faster and more consistently. And for the cardiovascular effects, it forces the heart to work harder and faster while redistributing blood flow away from the brain. And for anti-inflammatory effects, it acts as an epigenetic switch that reduces airway swelling and makes corticosteroids work more effectively. So theophylline, hindi lang niya po ginagamot yung mga airway system natin, but it makes the breathing muscles also stronger and more efficient, which is why ginagamit po siya and very useful in preterm infants na merong weak respiratory drive. And for the respiratory care assessment of Santines, so the general contraindications, Santines have a narrow therapeutic index margin and overdosing is possible and should be monitored. So because of different body systems affect, all patients should be close monitored. And patients with chronic disease, mga merong cystic fibrosis, mga COPD and asthma, may consider using other agents with better safety profile such as corticosteroid. So itong respiratory care assessment, it is very important kasi po kino-confirm niya po yung clinical efficacy or effectiveness nitong drug na to. And since Santins are often tinatawag po siya na third line treatment, we are respiratory therapists, kailangan po natin na i-verify yung mga patient natin na kung nakakahinga po ba sila ng maayos. And if the patient suffers from side effects katulad po ng tachycardia or yung rapid heartbeat po natin without a measurable improvement in lung function, the assessment provides the evidence kailangan po natin itigil yung pag-take nitong drug na to in favor of safer alternatives. And without frequent assessment, a patient can quickly progress from monitor side effects to life-threatening cardiac arrhythmias or seizures. So before the treatment, kailangan po natin i-assess yung effectiveness of drug therapy on the basis of indications for the aerosol agent, presence of a reversible airflow resulting from primary bronchospasm or obstruction secondary to an inflammatory response or secretions, either acute or chronic. And kailangan din po natin na i-monitor yung flow rates with bedside peak flow meters by portable spirometry or on the basis of laboratory reports of pulmonary function before the and after bronchodilator studies to assess reversibility of airflow obstruction. And to perform respiratory assessment, yung breathing rate and pattern, and also the breath sounds by auscultation before and after treatment. And we need also to assess the serum blood levels of agent. And during treatment naman po and short term, assess the patient's subjective reaction to treatment for any change in breathing effort or pattern. And we need to assess the arterial blood gases or pulse oximeter saturation as needed for acute states with asthma or COPD and to monitor changes in ventilation gas exchange. And for long term, we need to monitor the pulmonary function studies of lung volumes, capacities, and flows, and instruct asthmatic patients in the use and interpretation of disposable peak flow meters to assess the severity of asthmatic episodes and to ensure there is an action plan for treatment modification. And patient education should emphasize that statins do not treat underlying inflammation or prevent progression of asthma or COPD, and additional anti-inflammatory treatment or more aggressive medical therapy may be needed if there is a poor response to the agent. And because the agent is systemic, we need to assess the ongoing function of all body systems. And lastly, to assess the serum blood levels of agent. And that's all po. Thank you.